Hello everyone, it's Elrond here, and for today's video on Uma Musume, as Aquarius Cup is looking to finish up with the finals today, I thought now would be a great time to take a quick overview look at the next one that'll be starting. And this will be coming with the new scenario, so our Umas we will be able to make will be much stronger for it. And that's going to be very important because when you take a look, we're going to be coming back to a long with Pisces Cup. Now, this is going to be kind of the replacement for the Tenno Show Spring. This is going to be a unique race. We will not be seeing this one again, as this is kind of following the path of how it worked with the real races. And then instead of going to the Kyoto 3200, like we experienced with the Gemini Cup, for this one, it's going to be the Hanshin 3200. It is a long right-handed. It's going to be heavy rain in the spring. So even though we will be going into Make a New Track, it will be still very strict on the stat requirements. Now, it's going to be much easier. If you remember with Gemini Cup, which was the other 3200, that was during the URA. You probably didn't have crap for support cards. You haven't really pulled much. So you're going to have a lot more options here, and you're going to have a lot easier time getting stats overall. But it is still going to be a very tough one. The long ones are the hardest to build your Umas for. And the heavy rain is going to make it even more difficult. Now, being Hanshin, there's a little bit of difference to it as well, because as you know from the Hanshin races we've done in the past, there's a lot of downhill on them. If we actually want to just take a look at the track here, you kind of see it's actually got a, basically, you got an inside turn as well as an outside. We'll start on the outside and then come back around to go on the inside. So kind of unique there in versus if we actually take a look at Kyoto, which I don't have up. The last straightaway before we go into the late race is a little bit shorter. As you can see, now I don't think this is really going to impact much, but as you can see, it was a lot longer on lap 2 on that straightaway before we got into it. Well, on here, lap 2, as you can see, you're coming all the way to the inside, but it's a little hard to tell because it shifts it over. But you're coming on just this straightaway here versus this one. So first we start right here. We go to the outside, come in, back around, go through the center, and then down away to the straightaway. And as you can kind of see with the hills, Kyoto, we have these uphills here that you could kind of gamble on to a certain extent. While in the Hanshin one, we don't have that. But we do have very large downhills, as you can see, a downhill here that doesn't level out to right here. And then it goes right into an uphill. Kind of the same thing with this one. You got a very long downhill all the way into the straight and then an uphill. So it's going to be a quite difficult one to build for because you're pretty much wanting all your stats very high for this one as much as possible. Unlike Gemini Cup, because we're going to be now doing the new scenario and you're going to be able to get those higher stats, you're not going to want to skimp out on your wit. So you not only do you want to get your enough stamina, you want max speed, and then you also want to get as high of power and wit as you possibly can. Especially take a huge advantage of those downhills. Now, if we actually look at the track itself here, you can kind of look at it on the Umulator. Maybe if I zoomed in a little bit, it'd be a little easier to see. So, man, I got all this stuff run right now, but as you can kind of see here, you go first, it's nice and flat, but you have a nice downhill into an uphill, all the way up until you get to the final leg right here, which is where we're going to spurt on the straightaway, like we always do on long. So you already probably have a good idea who's strong right off the bat. But it's going to be starting the final leg on a straightaway into a downhill, downhill on the corner, all the way into a very, very, very end, a little hill right here. And if you've seen with the same situation pretty much has happened on the other longs as well. I think Arima Keenan kind of had it pretty extensive. That's where if you have like a high power end closer, sometimes you would see them just like launching forward. And that's because these uphills will slow down the ones that are a little bit lower in power, while those in the back that might have a little higher can push up. And so this one, if you want to build, like, this is going to be one that's going to be less RNG, the stronger you can make it on the stats. So this is going to be a very favorable one to those that kind of whale out or do a ton of runs to not only get the good stats, but also the skills as well with making new track. Now I'll be making a more dedicated video for it once, I keep calling it the Japanese name, Make a New Track, but Track Blazer, when that drops, and kind of showcasing runs when I start actually building for it, I would say you might want to kind of get familiar with it before you start working right in aces. Like that first week is just kind of messing around and kind of figuring things out with Make a New Track and the Umas that you're going to be bringing for it. Now, I have seen a lot of people recommending 2 heals for this track. And while that is going to be the safest way to make sure you survive, one of the things, especially if you're willing to do a lot of runs, because that's one of the things, if you're willing to build very strong, 3 strong aces or 3 decent aces, depending on whether you're free to play or a whale, that's where my RNG to me is going to come into play. I'm going to build very strong 3 aces. And yes, I'm going to be gambling because wit's going to be a little bit on the lower side. Even though you will be able to get it higher than like Gemini, I'm not going to be able to get it to like 1100 or 1200 like I've done in like the miles. And so the odds of it hitting is going to be like 85% chance or whatever. And so without 2 of them, the reliability of being able to do it win consistently on that specific Uma will be lower. But by not taking, like, as you can see, with just a random Narita Taishin I threw in here, don't worry about the skills on here. I just kind of threw stuff in here to kind of get a baseline of what would be needed. With Swinging Maestro and 1200 salmon, I could probably take it down to 1100 because I know that's some of the target goals that I've been seeing from people on it. Now, actually looking at it, you probably might need 1200 for going with 1, especially with these kinds of skills. As you can see down here, with the spurt rate, you have a 51% spurt rate with a survival of 99. Now, you're going to see this on this track. Because of the downhills, you're always pretty much going to survive. It's the spurt that matters, because it doesn't matter if they don't, if they survive, if they're not going their fastest the entire time. Okay, it looks like if you want to go this direction, you actually will want the 1200 with the 1 heal, because that brings it actually up to 84%, which is basically your odds to hit your heal. You hit your heal, you're very likely to spurt. Which is ultimately what's important. This has got all the stuff on here. Now, of course, if you add in, so we'll add in her heal, whichever one it is. Where are you on here? Sleeping Lion. Now, if you do bring the 2, like you're seeing advised, coming into this one, it's becoming almost 100%, because now you're down to failing both of your heals. But like I said, I feel like this one, if you want to have the best chance of winning this one, you do not actually take 2 heals. You go with a single heal on 3 strong Umas. Now, when it comes to the Umas that you're going to be bringing, we already know end closers. Narita Taishin, Tamamo Cross, Gold Ship, Ishi Amazon, like those ones. They are all good, but there is one negative with going into Make a New Track, Track Blazer. And this is talking end closer, but this will apply to the other Umas. Just know that like Tamamo Cross is one that I would like to bring. Even though it's a long race, your mile and medium aptitudes do matter, because you want to go and do those G1 races, as many races as you can within kind of a plan. I mean, there are basic plans that you'll set up for your aces and what races are going to be the most important to run. And there'll be guides out for that, which I'll probably make one once I kind of plan out my ace races that I'll do for maximizing my stats. She's mile E. Now you have Gold Ship's mile C, Narita Taishin, mile D. You're going to want to bring this up to, at a minimum, C, just so they can win the races. But if you really want to have consistency and not blow through your clocks, you're really going to want to bring it up to B, which means like someone like Tamamo Cross, you're going to want to bring 7 mile sparks, even though they're absolutely useless other than getting you the ability to win those races consistently. Which means it's going to be very hard to get that long S, which is very important for the longs. You're taking the biggest amount of, you're at your max speed the longest of any of the races, especially this one since it's a 3200. And so long S is going to be huge, but you're already sacrificing some of your mile sparks, or some of your long sparks to mile, meaning you're not going to be as consistent on inspiration. And that's where Uma's like Gold Ship, who is already C, or even Rita Taishin, she needs 4 at least, just because she's D, to bring it up to B and be able to win those in Make a New Track. And so that is one caveat on some of them. And if you have someone that's like a G, or I know someone like, let's just go with someone in that I know someone built for, I think, Libra Cup, Curran-chan. Curran-chan actually, the person I seen built got a long A on her, and she actually was pretty decent on Libra Cup. Yeah, you're not going to be... Yeah, she's kind of dead in making you track in that aspect. If you want to build her, if you want to get her good to try and run this race, have fun with the... now, you can... There are ways to do it without my... Like, some of them, there are plans. Like, if you want to not put any mile sparks into Mamo Cross, there was a strategy built. I would have... Maybe I'll make a guide on it down the line, too, that they had in Japan. You have, like, a calendar plan that kind of works around it, but now you're having to deal with more G2s than G1s. So overall, your stats will be lower, but it'll be more consistent in being able to bring more long sparks. But just know that is something you need to take into consideration when you're thinking about your Umas that you're bringing. Now, that's end closers, but they're not the only ones that are going to be super strong here. Now, in the past longs, you had pace chasers that were really strong because front runners were not as strong because angling always activated late. And thus, pace chasers, a lot of times, there wasn't going to be any other front runners if you didn't have one. And you could go and fight for that lucky pace. That's going to be completely different now. And this is going to be true pretty much for longs at this point now, where lucky pace is not going to happen as much. And that is because of Uma that I've already done a video on. Kita-san Black is going to be dropping, who's going to be like he's kind of got the ult that is the equivalent of angling and scheming, but for longs, in that it is an acceleration skill that activates on a backstretch straightaway, or basically a straightaway that's on the opposite side of the audience. And that is what all the longs have. And so this acceleration will activate at the exact same time the late race starts, just like Encroaching Shadow. Now, on Inherit, it's not as strong. It's only a 0.1. And so Kita-san Black herself is going to be very strong. But your other front runners that Inherit will be a little bit weaker with only a 0.1. You'll probably you'll want to rely on Kita-san Black more so. And that's because the other one that you'll inherit alongside it, she will not really be available potentially until the very end of it. And that is Seiyun Sky Ballroom, who's got a similar ult, but its inherit's actually less than even 1. But that'll bring you up to a 1.7 acceleration, which is slightly weaker than angling, but it'll be exact timing. And so longs from this point forward, front runners are going to be very strong with Kita-san Black. And as well as they'll continually be adding other stuff in the future. There'll eventually be a good one for late surger and pace chasers. But for this one, it's going to be dominated by front runners, Kita-san Black being the main big one, which we're all getting free pulls on. So we're going to be seeing a lot of her. It's not like something people aren't going to really pull for. She will be all over the place. And then, of course, I mean, you have your end closers as well. Tamamo Cross, Gold Ship. Gold Ship's pretty nice, and the free-to-play one. So Gold Ship, I suspect, will be very popular with her 20% stamina, 10% power, but she's also Miles C, which means you just need 1 Mile Spark, which actually is not too hard to get, because when you build her parent, sometimes you'll have a really good grandparents with like long 3, maybe power 3, or whatever you have for your longs on your grandparents, and then your parent could potentially... You might get like a god tier parent with the white sparks, and even the blue spark, but then you get a Mile Pink. You're like, oh, this one sucks for longs. Well, not really, because you can take advantage of that Mile Spark for her. Same thing with Narita Taishin, except she's D, so you'll want to get 4 sparks for her. And yeah, that way you just can do your races and build them pretty consistently. This is going to be a tough one. This is going to be... now, everybody's going to have higher stats overall, includes the free-to-plays, but it's still long 3,200 at this point. Having to get that really high stamina is going to make it where you're not going to be able to take full advantage of getting like that really high wit, high power alongside with that max speed, because you're still fighting for that stamina. Now, you will see Umas that are able to pull off those high stats, and that's going to be people with very whaley decks, like kind of what I have. I'm potentially might try and get all of those to about 1,000 plus on all 4 of those stats, but that's not going to be easy for your average person unless they do a crap ton of runs. So just expect this one is definitely a Whale Cup. Longs kind of always are in that aspect because they have the strictest stat requirements. Now, making you track... This one, to me, won't be as lopsided as Gemini Cup, at least. But it will still be a very difficult one. At least the future ones are not. We don't have a long one again in Make a New Track. And if with the mediums and all that, you'll have absolutely no problem on the stats. Even if you're free to play using weaker cards. But Pisces is going to be a very tough one to start right off the bat, especially since everybody's gonna be new to it. But that's pretty much it. That's just kind of a quick overview, if you want to call that quick. I kind of yapped a little bit there at the end, but if you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.